Hey there, YouTube land. Today I'm back with another vintage reel buying guide, and today we're going to talk about vintage Zebco 404s. As you can see here, I have two different models. This one is an earlier model, made sometime between 1964 and 1969, excuse me. And then this one is a later model, made sometime between 1971 and 1976. But the tips I'll share with you will pretty much apply to any Zebco 404 vintage style, I should say, that you will encounter. Now, with the early 404s, one thing about these, let me just let some line out here. I have can tabs as keepers because these have lines on them because I just took them off my rods. So these, unlike the 33s, you can just unscrew the caps like a traditional spin cast. Now the early 404s are going to have a line break like this. And this one's in fairly good shape, almost like new condition. But these do sometimes get dried and cracked and can fall apart. So you want to make sure you check this. Now you can repair this if you find a grommet or slip joint washer of the right size. But if you can avoid doing that, that's usually best. Another thing, now with these models, you actually have to take the handle off to get the housing or the body out of the housing. And to do that, you just have to use a 5/16 socket or wrench or nut driver. Then you can pop the handle off. Now later on, later model 404s, this was made into basically a big U slot and it had nothing up top. So that way you could remove the housing without removing the handle. On older model 404s, you do not have that luxury. Just a little note. Now, these are plastic reels, and I'm going to get this line keeper off, so if you guys will excuse me a minute. They're made out of a plastic called Cycroclac, I believe is what it's called, is what the Zebco catalogs called it, which is a fairly durable plastic. It's almost like a Lexan. Alright, now that we've got that all situated, let me just move these aside. And here we go. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I'm just trying to make some room here. You want to check the body for cracks. Of course, you want to check the gears, make sure they're in good shape. Check your drag wheel, make sure that's moving freely. Now, one thing about this design is that this little peg right here that your drag tension spring sits on, sometimes the plastic can get brittle and that can break, and that is often a common failure point on these reels. So do be aware of that. These two I've been pretty fortunate with. It stayed intact. A lot of times you'll see cracks around this area near the end of the drag tension spring. And the reason for that is because a lot of times these would be stored with the drag all the way tightened. When you put these away for storage, do not leave the drag all the way tightened. You want to at least have it on the middle setting, if not all the way loosened, for storage when not in use. If you do that, you should not experience any cracks in this body, and you'll make it last a very long time. Excuse me. Now, when it comes to some of the later Zebco 404s, if you'll excuse me, oops. Sorry guys, I have to have these up for lighting purposes. As I was saying, with this model, same deal. I have to get the handle off to get the housing or the body out of the housing, and it's the same deal. Just unscrew the cap. Now, on some of these ones, you do not have a line brake because eventually Zebco did away with those. If you have a 404 with this style of spinner head, you do not have to worry about the line brake. But you still want to check the same things I showed you with the early models. You know, the drag spring mount, the drag spring, cracks in the body, things like that. The gears, and all that. So, let's say you find one that's in good shape. And of course, make sure you clean and lubricate it. One of the things I will advise with these reels is you don't want to use thin line on them, because these are a little more heavy duty reels. I often use these for fishing for big bullheads, and last year I managed to catch 2 keeper size bass. If you guys look at my videos, you'll find the video where I showed you one of the 2, and I caught the second one after I got done filming that video. And so they can handle a fairly hefty fish. And they are fun to use. I have them mounted on old 6.5 foot rods. One's a Garcia Connellan rod, and the other one is a Shakespeare Wonderglass rod. And as I was saying about the line, the minimum line size that you want to use on these is probably 8-pound test. You don't want to go any smaller than that on a 404 because it just won't work out well. There we go. Now these ones I currently have 10-pound test Stren. But you can use any kind of decent quality monofilament line. I know there's plenty of them out there. There's Stren, Trilene, Suffix, among others. Of course, make sure you wind the line on properly. And because if you wind your line on too loosely, your drag won't work right and you'll have all kinds of issues. So that basically covers pretty much everything. Do not, again, like I said, do not have your drag all the way tightened when you put these away for storage. If you have an early model, keep an eye on the line brake. If you have a later model that comes with the spinner head without it, don't worry about that. And one of the nice things about these is you can actually find these a lot of times for very cheap because they look like a cheap reel. Now granted, when they were made to be an inexpensive reel, just like their smaller counterpart, the 202, when they first came out in the 60s. I believe they were like half the price of a 33. I think they went for $6.95 back then. These days you can find them anywhere from like $7 to $20, depending on condition and other things. You do find them at tag sales and flea markets and things like that a lot, and sometimes you get them for cheap. But if you do that, just make sure you check them out first, of course. Another thing that can happen with these is sometimes these plastic knobs can get a little stiff. But that's a fairly easy fix. Just soak it in some oil and work it in there, and usually that'll loosen it. Sometimes the drag wheels can get a little stiff. It's the same thing. Just put some oil in there, and what I like to do is just gently work it back and forth, and usually that'll loosen it up. I had to do that to this one, and it's working fine now. On these models with the white handle knobs and buttons, sometimes it gets yellowed. If that really bothers you, you could put it in a jar of hydrogen peroxide, let it sit in your windowsill for, like, I think 48 hours or something, and that'll take care of it. That doesn't bother me that much. I just want reels I can use. And that's pretty much it. I hope this video was helpful. Sorry I haven't uploaded in a few months. It's been very busy for me. Fishing season is kind of winding down, but hopefully during the winter maybe I can make a few videos of things. And as always, thank you for watching, and if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.